Going. Think fast.
Yep, there it is. He's hit the
Gosh
mic
damn it!
again.
Every time! Every time! I hit that damn mic every time.
Climb and climb in hopes you'll see the morning light. And you try and try and try to find what's holding you back inside. Living alive.
We are here. We are broadcasting.
We
Here.
are live. Welcome to the Naked Apple.
Part 2. Episode
Dose.
2. For those that don't speak
Numero 2.
languages other than English. Yeah.
Yeah, I only know how to say 2 in like 2 languages.
I think I'd.
English and Spanish. That's all
Well,
I
in
got.
French. Deux.
Oh, there you go.
There.
He's got French.
You are well versed in French now.
I am. I know one word, and that word is 2.
No, you know au jus from earlier.
Oh, that's right. With juice. I
With
know with juice.
With juice.
I understand with juice. Sounds so weird when you say it that way.
with juice. I know with juice.
I know with juice.
Neat.
And yeah.
All right.
All right.
On today's episode, now that everyone knows us, but they don't know us, because you don't, we're going to start digging into some fun stuff. At least we think it's fun until we get annoyed at it, in which case we go to other stuff that is fun.
Yeah, exactly.
So what you have to look forward to at the end of the podcast that is fun is de-aging mice, rats,
Rats. Lab rats.
and a
Lab
wine
rat
heist.
dog.
And a wine heist.
Wine heist.
A wine heist.
Say that 5 times fast.
Wine heist, wine heist, wine heist. Yep, can't. It turns into wine house, which is like something...
Or Weinstein, which is a
I
completely
mean,
different set of problems.
but unrelated. So, we'll start with the things that are going to start making us mad,
And then we'll calm down.
and then we'll calm down. That's probably going to be the basic foundation going forward. Wouldn't you agree?
Probably.
Probably.
I think that's probably the safest way to approach.
Get riled up. Get
Things.
that blood pressure.
Yeah.
Get it just inching up
Get
there.
excited, then taper down.
Bring it down to at least a simmer. Get it
Yeah,
out
at
of
least.
boiling down
Yeah,
to
take
simmer.
Take it from, crank it to 11 and then take it down to like 6.
6.
You're here. I need you about here. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll start the fun
There's
with something that's been making the rounds recently, and for Mike and myself, finally making the rounds in mainstream media,
Right.
is Joe Biden and his sexual assault
Allegations?
Allegations,
Allegations.
I guess is the right terminology for that.
That is the correct terminology.
And we'll start off with the interview that Megyn Kelly did with
Tara Reade.
Tara Reade.
Mhm.
And yeah, we'll start with that. This is just some highlights that someone threw together, and we found it, and we like the highlights.
Yeah, it's an abbreviated kind of what is it, like 2.5 minute clip of the interview with Megyn Kelly and Tara Reade.
Yes. And if you see us looking to the left, it's because that's where our TV is,
Yes.
so we can see everything that we're sharing. And let's see. Not that one yet.
Not
Nope,
that one.
That
Nope,
one's too
nope,
early.
That one's too early. There you go. That one. You gonna throw that full screen or
no? Stop.
all the way to the right,
Stop
bro?
it.
All the way to the right. Now you broke it.
Go back.
Why you always gotta be breaking stuff?
I don't know what I'm doing.
Always breaking things. There you go.
'Kay.
Now you got it.
All
Okay,
right.
start it over.
Okay. We got that sorted.
The quality on this isn't fantastic, but this is one of the most concise clips we could find. It's about 3 minutes long.
Yeah,
So
3 minutes. The whole. If you want to watch the whole interview,
if you want to watch the whole interview, yeah, it's about 46 minutes, 45 minutes.
you can find it through Megyn Kelly's.
And it is
stuffs.
fantastic. Megyn Kelly did a great job with this interview. She covered so many bases, and she was very middle of the road with it. She didn't.
She was a reporter,
Yeah,
an investigative
She-
reporter.
she did well with her questions. She was very thorough.
Held her feet to the fire when necessary,
Mhm.
and yeah.
So it's a good one.
Yeah.
Have a look at it
All right. And we most likely will pause here and there, depending on
for
Yeah.
commentationary.
commentary or
Do you
Word of the
believe
day.
We should believe all women.
I believe in the survivors that have come forward, like Blasey Ford, and the other ones that have come forward. I do stand with them. I think that there needs to be a conversation rather than a hashtag.
Are you in favor of the conversation? I mean, does
All right,
Joe
hold on.
Biden get due?
So I kind of like what she says there,
Mhm.
because she mentions the Blasey Ford thing, which is Brett Kavanaugh. And we'll get into that.
Should we though?
We will.
Okay.
It's really hard not to talking
It
about
is.
this.
It is hard not to, especially with everything going on.
But yeah, I like what she says there. It's like she's saying, like, as everyone really should have, everyone, when someone comes forward, when women come forward, or even men come forward with an accusation like this, they deserve the benefit of the doubt,
Mhm.
but they don't necessarily deserve to be believed wholeheartedly.
Right.
Right?
They deserve to be listened to.
Yeah.
You should always listen,
And
you
they
should
should-
always look.
And they
At
should
what
not
they
be
say.
criticized for it.
Right.
That's something Megyn Kelly, I think, kind of touches on in the
Mhm.
full interview.
Yeah,
But
well, and they go over a lot of what she's been dealing with, what people that have
Right.
come out in support of her have been dealing with. There are several witnesses that she told at the time about what was going on and things like that, and they've received death threats, they've received all kinds of abuse and these different things, and that's the kind of stuff that shouldn't happen.
Right.
You shouldn't abuse somebody because they come out with, these types of things.
Yeah, whether
They
whether-
should feel safe in being able to share their story, whether it's true or not. They should feel safe in being able to share that.
and whether it's a vice presidential candidate or some Joe Schmo off the street.
Yes, exactly.
It should be the same
Across the board. Right.
Across the board. All right. Carry on. If I can hit play.
Without hitting
Process,
start.
does he get the chance to vet these claims and defend himself? Is that okay?
I think he's been doing that, right? He's had
That's a
a
great point.
chance for more platforms than I have.
If I can just go back for 1 second to Blasey Ford.
Yes.
Some of those who supported her, but now have found a reason not to support you, say, well, she was under oath. Would you go under oath?
Absolutely.
They say, well, she subjected herself to cross-examination. Would you do that?
Absolutely.
They also point out that she took a polygraph controlled by someone on her team. Is that something you want to do?
I'm not a criminal. Joe Biden should take the polygraph.
So
Okay,
What
pause.
kind of
Pause
business
that.
is that?
Pause
Yeah.
that. I have things to say about this.
it's probably the same things I thought when I first watched this.
First off, I will never recommend anyone ever take a polygraph, because polygraphs, in honest opinion, pardon the French, they're bullshit. They're rarely perfectly accurate.
They're easy to cheat.
They're easy to cheat, and they're easy for the questioner to manipulate. It's very easy for somebody to set a baseline and then rile you with a question and get a false negative or a false positive.
Right.
Either way.
Right.
And so they're not admissible in a court of law for a reason.
Uh-huh.
And it's a tactic that people use a lot. If you follow any kind of true crime or anything like that, you already know. It's a tactic they use a lot to make somebody appear guilty when they're really not.
Yeah.
And it's really stupid thing. I would never suggest to anyone to take a polygraph. Not even a little bit.
Might be something fun at a slumber party, but not to defend yourself.
Right,
in a court of
exactly.
law.
especially if it's something that's going to be used for a criminal case. Do not take a polygraph.
Yes.
Aside from that, the other things that she's stating here, I like what Tara Reade said. She is not the one being accused. But at the same time, we're innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
And that's the thing that's so difficult with sexual harassment, sexual abuse, and sexual assault cases is often there really isn't a lot of physical evidence.
Right.
And so you're relying on hearsay, you're relying on testimony, you're relying on polygraphs, things like that really are not reliable sources of information.
Yeah,
and so it's very difficult to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that somebody committed these things, especially when it's
30 years later.
30 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because if it's within the last few hours, there's tests that they can do within a couple
rape
days.
kits, things like that.
Yeah.
They can test for DNA now. All these different things that they can pull to try to determine whether a story is true or not. But even then, it still comes down to he said, she said, because he can come back and say, well, she was consensual. And she says, well, no, I wasn't. Well, okay,
That's where you would need
who's
some sort of
being-
third witness to be able
Yeah,
to
exactly.
corroborate.
Who's telling the truth here?
Yep.
Who is actually right?
This
you
goes
know?
back to our discussion when we first started all this.
Right,
Yes,
exactly.
last time.
And so it's extremely difficult to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. That being said, she has some of the most in-depth evidence that I've seen, especially for a case this old.
Mhm.
She has the story that she's told has been corroborated multiple times.
And they've said she's remained consistent on that story.
Yeah, and they've
throughout
said
the
that
whole
she's
time.
remained consistent with that. She has had several times when, she left a part out, but that's not necessarily inconsistent, because it's not to say that thing didn't happen. It's just that when she told the story before, she didn't tell that part of the story.
Yeah,
You know, so
you can summarize a Star Wars movie in a couple minutes. That doesn't mean you left any. That doesn't mean you didn't tell the story.
Right, exactly. And specifically, like when she first filed the complaint. 'Cause she did file a complaint. She filed a complaint, and in her original complaint, she did not mention the assault. She only mentioned sexual harassment. So in that part, she didn't talk about the assault, but she did tell the story of the assault to her mom and her friend, and I believe another person that was working for a different campaign.
Right. Yeah, another intern or
the
something like that.
Ford, I think, is who she was working for. And also, I believe I heard that she told her brother at one point.
Yes.
And these people have all come forward. Well, obviously her mom has passed, so she didn't come forward. But they found a recording of her calling in to CNN to talk about
Larry King specifically.
Larry King,
Yeah.
yes, Larry King specifically, to talk about this instance. And it has been verified that was her mother.
And
So
and that's one thing too that could have easily just been written off of. I mean, it could be her mom, and she even admitted at one point, like, I think that's her voice. I haven't heard it for so long, I
Right.
can't be sure. And so that could have easily been written off as, okay, it's very coincidental, and could be, but it's also
it was
you can't-
enough of a coincidence that Google removed it from the.
and that's what kind of verified that for me was CNN's, like, someone
That
said,
stuff doesn't happen.
hey,
right?
her mom called into CNN on Larry King and did a thing. Oh, did she? Yeah, we don't see that anywhere. And then some low level news source.
Oh, no. It wasn't even some low-level news source. It was one of their listeners.
Yeah.
Went and found it.
Yeah, they're like,
and
oh, hey,
gave
it's
it
on
to
this
them.
one.
Was like, oh, hey, it's this episode at this time mark. I have it right here.
If only CNN had some sort of database
Right.
where they'd be able to search for something like that.
But it makes things so easy. If anybody had a database that they could search, Tara Reade's name in documents that they have to see if she filed something against. Oh wait,
Yeah, so that it's this culmination
would we
of
search
things
that?
like that, where things are missing or can't be found or suddenly disappear after everyone finds it.
Oh, I guarantee at this point, if they searched the college's records, they wouldn't
Gone.
find it. It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
It's been
But
removed. I'm sure.
It's things like that that make you raise an eyebrow.
Right.
Maybe there's more to this than everyone
Meets
else.
the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Anyway, continuing on with the video,
as we were,
as we were.
and there it is.
For survivors of violence, does that mean we're presumed guilty and we all have to take polygraphs? So I will take one if Joe Biden takes one, but I'm not a criminal.
That's something that's kind of interesting with our justice system, of where she said our survivors presumed guilty at this point. And in a roundabout way, yes, because you're innocent until proven guilty.
Was the burden of proof does not lie with the accused; it lies with the accuser.
Yes, and so in that regard, you can look at it as someone says this person sexually assaulted me. That person has every right to turn around and say, prove it. So then it's turned back on them, and they are guilty until it's a twist on words. They're guilty until they prove they're the other
Just to
person
be
is
clear,
guilty.
for when this is sound clipped and somebody strings him up for this, I had nothing to do with it.
I had nothing to do with it. That's just. I just think that's I think that's part of what makes our justice system actually so good. In that you can't just come forward and say he did it.
Right.
It's
No, you
have
actually
to come forward
actually
and
have
say
to provide proof.
he did it. Here's why. And if you just come forward, he did it. Everyone else
And-
has the right and should turn around and say, "Where's your evidence?"
Yeah. And like I said, it's one of the things. It makes this variety of crime so difficult.
Right.
Because there really isn't much physical evidence. So it's very hard to prove in a court of law unless you do it like that night, that day, you know. And even then, where it wasn't a full rape, where it was sexual assault, how do you prove that?
Yeah.
Where's the physical evidence of that?
Yeah. Unless there's a security camera in the hall that caught it or whatever.
Unless there's a security camera in the hall or an eyewitness or something to that effect.
And even then, the eyewitness, this many years later, you have to question that eyewitness's recall ability to recall.
Exactly.
everything.
And, not to say that people shouldn't come forward or that this kind of stuff is at all, that we can condone it at all. But
That's just what makes it so complex.
it's just what makes it so complex. It's so difficult to prove.
Right.
And so it is so easy, especially if you take the stance of believe everyone. It makes it so easy to abuse
Yes.
this in the system,
Right.
for your own personal gain and things
And
like that. And it's
And I think that's why this is. I think that's why her story is throwing a wrench in the Me Too movement, because
Right.
the Me Too movement turned into you're accused, so you're gone, whether it's by
Right.
court of law or by court of popular opinion.
right.
And this throws a whole wrench in that, because now it's one of their own that's in the crosshairs, and so they can't just say, "Well, yeah, he's guilty because Orange Man bad."
Believe
So
all
we-
women unless they're accusing somebody we like.
Right. And we're gonna get into that more so. See, it's
Probably.
inevitable. It's inevitable. We're
It's
gonna
inevitable.
we're
It's
gonna
inevitable. Well, yeah, it ties right back into Kavanaugh. I mean,
Yeah.
they talk about Dr. Ford and
Yeah, she's
like
already mentioned
where
it.
where was the corroboration of her story? There wasn't any. Nobody agreed with her story. People that she said that she talked to about it, were like, I didn't even know her back then.
Insert Pulp Fiction gif
you
here.
know. And so already in this case we have worlds more corroboration, worlds more evidence than we did in the Ford case. But yet the Ford case was all over the news. Everybody thought, that Kavanaugh was guilty from the get-go.
Right.
And yet when it actually came to the court case, they didn't have a leg to stand on.
It was a stack of paper with nothing written on it.
Exactly.
All right. We'll get through this 3-minute interview eventually.
It'll take us 30 minutes
Let's
to get
talk
through this
about
3
what
minutes.
he said,
Mm-hmm.
because he went on TV last Friday
Yeah.
and said, first of all, it never happened. Period. End of report. This
Okay.
did not happen. He did say that in his view, accusers should start off with the presumption that they're telling the truth. Do you think he's afforded you that presumption?
No. I mean,
She is
it's
correct.
been stunning, actually, how the some of his surrogates with the blue checks, his surrogates have been saying really horrible things about me and to me on social media. He hasn't himself, but there's a measure of hypocrisy with the campaign saying it.
I think right now that's about the only thing that's really saving Joe Biden from too much of a firestorm with this, is he hasn't directly attacked her yet. Like she was saying, she's had all these people that have been threatening and whatever. Joe Biden hasn't yet. And I think that might be, I think as soon as he starts threatening her, it might push some buttons on that front. Might.
And
and it just
the
doesn't
problem
look
the problem
good.
I have with this is he might not have himself publicly or directly done anything, but who's to say he doesn't have people on his staff that he's had
And I think that's what she's saying.
firestorm her on Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever.
And I think that's kind of what she's alluding to there when she says his surrogates with the blue check marks.
Right.
It's all these verified people on Twitter that are just
and
attacking her.
it's hilarious because one of the things that I've heard so much since this story came out was, oh, but he's such a happy, nice man. I'm like, have you ever watched this guy talk to real people? He's a dick. Like, straight up, dude's a dick. Like, I mean, okay.
He loves when kids touch his hairy legs and sit on his lap.
I'm not gonna go there. But no, like look at his interactions with voters.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you take that what was it, the construction crew, whatever, that he went and talked to in wherever the crap that was.
Where he talks about the AR-14.
Yeah, where he talks about the AR-14, and he's like asking the guy if he wants to go wrestle, like,
take you out back.
Take you out back. I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm gonna take your AR-14.
Playground rules apply.
Dude, like, chill. He asked a legit question. Like, the guy wasn't even combative when he asked the question. He was asking a legit, straightforward question, and Biden lost it on him.
Yeah, to the
Like,
point where his handlers had to be like, okay, let's just calm down and
and
get out of here.
he's done that numerous times. If you go back through all the videos of his public interactions where he's actually not like standing in a podium giving a talk that's on a prompter, or I mean, even those you can watch him do that, and it's fun to laugh at. But
the town hall style things.
Yeah, the actual town hall style things where people ask him questions, where he interacts with real individuals.
They find out they're dog-faced pony soldiers.
Right? Like, how do you take that and call him a happy, nice gentleman?
Well, that's just Uncle Joe.
Like, I mean, I wouldn't describe myself as a happy, nice gentleman, but that's because I'm an asshole. So
you're not wrong.
See? Proof positive.
Carry on.
Carry on.
Safe. It's not been safe. All my social media has been hacked. All my personal information has been dragged through. Every person that maybe has a gripe against me, an ex-boyfriend or an ex-landlord, whatever it is, has been able to have a platform rather than me. Talking about things that have nothing to do with 1993, like even the whole thing with being called a Russian agent, that in particular, that incites people. People actually, I got a death threat from that because they thought I was being a traitor to America. And I mean, these are serious things. And his campaign is taking this position that they want all women to be able to speak safely. I have not experienced that.
If he's watching this, what do you want to say to him?
I want to say, You and I were there, Joe Biden. Please step forward and be held accountable. You should not be running on character for the President of the United States.
You want him to withdraw?
I wish he would, but he won't, but I wish he would. That's how I feel emotionally.
Do you want an apology?
I think it's a little late.
True story.
Stop that before saying
Before
live.
just do that.
Exit
And
that.
we'll do
Put
that.
Put that away.
We're
for
good.
me. Okay.
But
So much to go over in that, and that's only
You-
3 minutes
I
of the
know.
interview. Like
it's 45 minutes long
Oh
or
yeah,
something
and
like
that's
that.
not even the juiciest part of the interview. Like
No.
she goes into the whole Russia thing. Like, you know, Tara was or Tara. I don't know how you say her name. I think it's Tara. Anyway,
We'll go with Tara.
She'll
She'll correct
doing,
us if we're wrong.
She probably will. She was doing like this writing thing where she was writing about Russia and studying Russia and doing all this stuff. And so she had this. I mean, if you go and study a country's literature, you're gonna have a rose-colored picture of it. Like you just are.
Mhm.
And so she was in the middle of that when she said a lot of her comments about Russia and different things. And yeah, it's neither here nor there. She's never been to Russia,
Right.
So take that for whatever you will. Go watch the rest of the interview because there is a lot there. There's a lot of things that she covers, that she talks about, that Megan asks her about, that are very pointed, and you know they get out all the information that you really need to know about what's going on with her,
Right.
and why she's doing this now, and all these different things, and a lot of the details about what actually happened. You know, she covers the whole story, and then she starts asking questions about, you know, what's been said and all this other stuff. Interesting thing, actually, I was reminded of as we were talking about that. There's another thing in her divorce case in 93 or 94? 94, I think. Her husband actually used the Biden sexual assault as one of his defenses against her in the divorce case.
Because it traumatized her so much.
Because she was so traumatized that she was unstable.
Right.
And he should have custody and whatever. I think she actually won that case. And I believe, if I remember right from her story with Megan here, that she won full custody, and he's actually not allowed to see the kids even.
Oof.
So
Oof.
take that
That
for what it's
backfired
worth,
a little bit.
you know.
Yeah, and one thing, like Megyn Kelly did a great job with this, but at the end of that, you could tell. At least I could see, like Megyn Kelly, you could tell she felt for her. She's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Well, that's what
with that last part she was saying, but it's
she actually did an interview. Megan Kelly did with Glenn Beck earlier this morning.
today.
I believe it was this
we
morning.
should probably let people know today is the 12th.
Yes,
of May,
today is the 12th
2020.
of May. It is May the 12th, and it is a Tuesday.
Yes.
And Glenn Beck did an interview with her this morning, and he asked her how Tara was in person, and Megan described her as a very sweet, very nice person. So
Like a normal person.
like, yeah, normal person. Like, so you know, she obviously left a good impression on Megan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that kind of leads that 20-minute coverage of a 3-minute clip leads us into what we were kind of talking about, the hypocrisy behind it all.
Yeah, all of
'Cause-
the hypocrisy.
Was it Kavanaugh that started the Me Too, or did it start before Kavanaugh?
Me Too started way before Kavanaugh.
Right.
Me Too's been around for a while.
But
Which
that was probably the
I never understood who thought up the hashtag Me Too.
yeah, that didn't really
like,
blend
that
well with
didn't-
the older generation.
You know, everybody that read that as pound instead of hashtag
So
was not okay.
yeah, no,
I'm still not okay. I'm still disturbed. by
I'm
that.
still traumatized. But
And that's neither here nor there.
yeah,
It's just funny.
what grinds my gears most with this Tara Reade story is the hypocrisy behind mainly the left and the media. Of Kavanaugh, it was like they pointed out, Joe Biden said women deserve to be believed and all this stuff, and basically saying Blasey Ford, because she accused Brett Kavanaugh should not hold office.
Right. Well, and for the
her
sake
story
of
is
being
100%
fair,
right.
Yeah, for the sake of being fair, I also want to point out we didn't take a side on this. Like,
No.
I still don't know if I think anything actually happened.
If I was on that jury right now today, I would be indecisive on my decision.
Yeah, I would too.
That being said,
despite how much I dislike Biden.
Yeah, that being said, the evidence stacked up in Tara Reade's story versus Kavanaugh's, or I guess Tara Reade's story and Blasey Ford's story.
Yeah.
The evidence that Tara Reade has is a lot more believable than Ford's story.
Right.
And that's not because Biden and Kavanaugh. That's because corroboration
and evidence.
and then added on top of that, with Kavanaugh, they went so far as to dig into his calendar from when he was a kid.
From when he was a kid.
So, okay, what was he doing on this date in his calendar that he, for whatever reason, kept?
Yeah. But with Biden, they won't even authorize a database search of the college.
You can't search his information at the college because it's secret. And
because he said some things
during his public service.
That he doesn't want people to know about.
But Brett Kavanaugh's private life was open to the public.
I don't understand that part. Like, if he was giving a speech as an American representative to other countries, because that's the defense that he gave in his interview, was he didn't want that to come out because he gave speeches in, what was it, like
China,
Russia. So I can't remember. There was a couple of different countries that he mentions, and he's like, I gave speeches in these other countries, and that can't be released because it could be used against me. Wait a minute, you're running for a public office.
Not sure if you knew this or not.
And you don't want me to listen to the speeches you gave while you were in a previous public office because I might not like it.
Well, if you take into consideration that if you consider
yeah, that exactly.
It's like even with Kavanaugh, like the way that she told her story, something probably did happen to her.
Yeah.
Whether or not it was Kavanaugh, though, I couldn't make heads or tails of that.
Yeah.
I could make more tails of it than I could heads because of the inconsistencies. And then in this case, the way she tells her story, something definitely happened to her, it sounds like. And at the same time, like Kavanaugh, I can't make heads or tails, but I can make a little bit more heads of it than I can tails.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No,
because
makes sense to me. I don't know if it makes sense to them, but makes sense to me.
Good enough.
As long
You're
as
the only one
I understand.
You're the only one I'm talking to right now, so that's good enough.
That's
for me.
valid. That's valid. I'm sure they'll yell at you in the comments later.
Good.
So
I won't read them.
no, that's my job.
Yeah.
I'm the one that avoids.
I
You're
won't-
the one that reads.
Oh.
That's how this works.
Because I'm the more mild-tempered one.
That's right.
Gotcha. Fine, I'll read the comments.
Because you're the one more likely to admit that I'm wrong. That's what.
Probably.
Probably.
So a lot of, and what's very similar about both of these things that they're usually compared to each other is both are being looked at by the opposition as a means to get them to not hold a public office.
Right. Okay. Can I just ask? Can we have a public appointment or public election without somebody getting accused of sexual assault or rape or anything? Like, please, just one more time.
Yeah, As soon as the president in office has a D next to his name, it'll probably be fine. It probably won't happen.
I don't know.
Well, it'll happen.
Obviously not, because it just happened to Biden.
It'll happen, but it won't be reported on. How about that?
Right. Okay.
Does that work? Does that satisfy your answer?
A number of things they don't report on.
Satisfy your question. But yeah, moving forward with this, do you see this at all affecting Biden's chance with not just the presidency, but also with the Democratic primary?
I don't really think it'll affect him that much, but that's mostly because I thought he was done before all this came out.
He's already out. He can't get any lower.
Okay, the Democrats rallied behind him because they didn't want Bernie. That's the long and the short of it.
And even then, Barack Obama did not endorse his vice president
Until
he was the only person left.
Yeah, right.
What does that say? How does that not say anything?
Well,
to these
according to
people?
Biden, it's because he asked him not to.
Then why did he still do it?
Because he doesn't care what Biden wants.
And why was Biden so giddy about it when it happened? Riddle me that.
Oh,
Because
I mean, there's so many monkeys in that circus. I don't even know anymore.
Hypothetical here.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to be running. You are going to be in the general election for president of the United States. You got to pick a VP.
Mm-hmm.
Do you pick a VP that is a bumbling baboon? Or do you pick a VP that, if you could not fulfill your duties as president anymore, that VP would be able to step in exactly where you're at?
I mean, if I'm running for president, I pick a VP that I think would do as good, if not a better job than I would running the country. As a actual politician, I pick a VP that is going to win me extra votes.
Right. Yeah, so picking a VP as a president, essentially you have the most powerful vote of anyone voting for president, right?
Right.
Because you are picking the president should you not be president anymore.
Right.
Now, fast forward from Barack Obama picking Joe Biden. Joe Biden is now running for president.
Mm-hmm.
That powerful vote isn't there. Out of respect for Joe Biden's wishes to not endorse him, so it's a fair...
Yeah, I mean, I would say...
As he works to smear every
probably
person
more
running
out of
against him.
respect for Joe Biden's dementia. But, you know, that's just me. Unfounded accusations.
That's going to be the screen grab right there.
That's going to be the screen grab, right? It's all right.
But,
that's a face I make.
So moving forward to the primary, how bad is this going to hurt Biden with the Trump campaign already capitalizing on everything the Democrats are doing right now with the Pelosi ad and things like that, the Pelosi ice cream ad and things like that?
Pelosi's $300 worth of ice cream.
Yeah, in her $5,000 freezers.
$5,000 freezers. I don't know. Because, like I said before, I didn't think he was...
He shouldn't be here in the first place.
I honestly, I'd be floored if they let this man actually run for president.
Right.
I've always thought if they did let him run for president, it would be to Trojan horse somebody else into the White House, where they would have him pick a candidate they wanted for his VP.
They're basically voting for his VP.
Right, exactly. And they're just picking whoever they want for the VP type of thing. Be that, pick your conspiracy theory, whatever, out of the air here, Michelle Obama or Clinton or
Tara Reade.
Not
Tara Reade.
Wait, no, not Tara Reade. Putting words in my mouth. You suck. Whoever.
Was it Kamala Harris or whatever?
Take your pick of VP here. Heaven forbid, Pelosi. I mean,
that would be bad on top of bad.
That would be terrible.
That'd be a crap sandwich. Right there. And that's not even getting to their policies.
Right. Oh, the chances of who's third in line?
Yeah, who's Speaker of the House?
Who's Speaker of the House at that point?
Right. And that's something that the population basically doesn't have control over. So,
but no, like, there's so many different theories out there about this. He picks, say, Michelle Obama for his VP, right? And then he gets elected because of her, obviously,
right?
And gets in the White House, and then he's not really competent enough to perform all these things, so he's a figurehead for 2 years, 4 years, whatever, however long he manages to last.
Wasn't it Woodrow Wilson's wife that ran the White House while he was incapacitated, or was that FDR? Either way,
I don't remember. But yeah, essentially like that, where the VP is essentially running everything but isn't the actual president. And as long as he serves more than half of his term, she can run in the next election and the one following.
So she can, up to 10 years.
Yeah. Actually up to 16. If he lasts his full first term, gets elected for a second term, makes it halfway through that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Then she could go 16 years.
I was thinking officially as president.
Officially
up to 10 years.
Officially as president up to 10 years. Unofficially with the VP up to 16. And that's a theory that's out there. I don't know about that. But my prediction in this, and I'm probably way off base because I usually am, is that they're going to get to the end of this primary and they're going to look at Joe and be like, no. Like,
a contested convention.
Well, and not even necessarily, well, kind of, yeah, that would be what it would be. But
not necessarily that, just they go back and forth over who actually
No, like they get through the primary, they have him pick his VP, and then almost immediately declare him incapable for medical issues. And then that VP now becomes their presidential candidate and has to pick another VP.
I see. I got you.
Something like along those lines. But either way, I highly doubt it's going to end up being him.
Right.
It doesn't matter how many delegates he gets. When it hits the primary, it's either going to have him replaced or he's going to run with the VP, and the VP is going to be the real president. Because if you watch his speeches, this man is completely incapable of being our president.
Even when he's got the teleprompter there to
zero chance of this guy being a good president. And I'm not saying that because he's a Democrat. I'm not even talking about his policies.
That's just his...
I'm saying straight up, the man is incapable of making it through an entire speech or an interview.
There's something going on.
There's
something going on, something missing in his mind. And we're not giddy about that.
No.
It's just...
I'm actually kind of horrified by it.
It's scary in general it's not cool, dementia and all those things.
No,
not cool at all.
They're terrible, awful diseases.
But then you throw someone in the most powerful office in the world with that kind of brain capacity. It's not good no matter what their policies are, because those policies are going to change frequently.
And that's exactly why I'm saying I thought he was out before any
Right.
of this
Yeah.
even happened.
Exactly.
You know, and this will probably be. I mean, I don't understand why Democrats are upset about this because this is beautiful ammunition for them to be able to say, "Hey, you know what? Step down. You know, retire with some dignity. And we'll take care of you." And
I think he
put
would-
somebody else in his spot.
He probably would have had a better chance, and it might be why he's sticking to it now. He probably would have had a better chance last election
Mm-hmm.
because he didn't seem to really have those coherency issues.
Well, he also wasn't nearly as much in the public eye.
He wasn't, but still, even now, he's not that in the public eye that much, and
Right.
he's just
Well,
But-
and if you notice, it's been getting worse.
Yeah.
You can
And-
you can track it through his campaign.
and that's why I say he probably would have had a better chance going up against Donald Trump
Right.
in Trump's first
But
election.
they didn't want him to run against Donald Trump. They wanted Hillary Clinton to run against because it was Hillary Clinton's turn.
It was her turn.
Remember, it was her turn.
But I think also if he did win, that probably would have been worse for his mental health.
Right.
Because,
Can you imagine him dealing with the COVID-19
well, even just presidency in
Iraq?
general. Yeah, even just
Like,
presidency
all of
in
the stuff
general. Because
going
if
on
you
now?
look at every president,
or not
basically,
Iraq, Iran. Sorry.
if you look at every president, their picture going into office, their hair especially, it's got nice color to it and everything. Last day of office, gray.
Well, I
And you
mean,
can just see that progression through the
Trump's
years.
even losing some orange. Have you noticed?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's now
It is
salt and pepper and a little pale most of the time.
He's not as orange as he used to
He's
be.
not as orange as he used to be.
But just the job in general is just a huge amount of stress on your mind.
Mhm.
And then to throw someone in there that's already struggling with keeping their mind in check,
Right.
yeah, it's a bad combo. And don't really
It's
wish it on
Not
anyone.
a job I would wish on anybody,
No. Just
let alone
Yes.
anybody with possible, you know,
something.
something, whatever,
Something of the mind.
whatever that is.
Yeah. But yeah. So I think this election cycle will be very interesting.
Yeah. It's already interesting.
It's already
It's
interesting,
already
but come November, it's going to be amazingly
Well,
interesting.
and so looking on the other side of this, how do you think the COVID-19 effects on the economy are going to affect Trump's chances in this upcoming election?
I think it depends on how well he handles the media moving forward. Because he has his base, basically. His base, they're not going anywhere.
Right.
And they've proven it time and time again with some of the more terrible decisions that he's made.
I mean, how do you properly handle this media? I mean, have you watched any of the press conferences he's done? The questions they
Like-
ask him, like, the hell is that?
He handles it exactly like he did yesterday. With the we don't have that video ready, but that was I think
the face mask.
yeah.
How dare you say that to me?
Yeah. And we're not going to watch it because we pause it and watch it, and it take another 30 minutes to get through that. But yeah, she asked the question of why he's making this competition and whatever, and he's like,
Ask China.
yeah, not ignore, and she was ignoring the fact that up to this point the media has been nothing but United States is behind, United States is behind, United States is behind, United States is behind. And that's after they move the goalposts each time that the United States catches up on whatever goalposts
Right.
they put.
Oh, we've done less COVID tests in a day than Korea has. Oh, okay. Well, we just passed them by a lot.
Well, you haven't tested as many.
okay. Well, we just passed them a lot.
Well, per capita, you haven't tested. As
Okay.
many.
Well, we just blew that number out of the water.
Well, actually, that's how
know-
it is.
It's every single time,
And so,
all the time.
knowing that backstory, you get to this question where she's asking people are dying and you're treating this like a competition and whatever. It's a stupid question.
Right.
It's like a better way to phrase that probably would have been, why are you talking about how great America is doing with testing and things like that? And then Donald Trump, if he's got his wits about him, can respond back with, the more testing we're able to do, the more we can understand about the virus, blah, 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 blah,
Dude,
something like that.
It blows my mind. All the people that are like, oh, we have so many positive tests now. Well, yeah, that was the whole point of doing the tests. That's what we were supposed to.
You've seen the negative tests that we've got on top?
Yeah. Okay. So we have over 1 million positive tests. Okay, but we've done over 10 million total tests. 1 in 10 people that they test positive.
Yeah.
Like,
so you stack that into this. There's peaks at this question with this lady, and Donald Trump says, "I don't know, ask China." From what I gather from that, he's basically referencing China's not reporting everything accurately,
right,
and all that stuff. They're changing their numbers, they're changing how they do stuff, and they're never honest about it. Is how I think Trump is kind of thinking with that response. So why don't you ask China that question, and basically moves on there. Basically moves on from there. And you can see the lady, she wasn't happy with that answer, but she sits down because he's like, okay, you in the back. The next lady comes up and she notices that she's kind of steamed, so she kind of steps back to let her finish. Do you want to keep going? And she takes her mask. She had her mask on this whole time. She takes her mask down. Turns out she's got Asian heritage.
How dare you ask me that question?
Why did you ask me that? I'm not asking you. I just answer. I answered your question. I'm telling everyone, ask China, but you're not going to do it. But ask China. Right. And she tries to turn it into this whole racial thing. He's like, no, we're moving on. Someone else. We'll go to you. And then the lady that was standing up that gave her more time. No, you're calling me for, yeah, but you didn't respond, so I'm going.
Right.
Well, I just have a couple of questions. Let my colleague finish.
All right. Have a good
Trump,
day.
all right, we're done. See ya.
Take off.
Presidential?
Which, I mean,
probably not.
Probably not. But how else do you deal with people like that?
It's the
whole... you can't let them walk all over you. You can't let them get away with this bull crap, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
They're asking baited questions. She knew full well what he was going to say when she asked that question.
Right.
Because that's what he says all the time.
Yeah.
Anytime you ask him a stupid question
they're just looking for a soundbite.
It's always going to be, China.
Uh-huh.
Because
China.
that's where the virus came from. They're the ones that have lied about it. They're the ones that are withholding information.
Yeah.
I don't...
Yeah. It was probably that whole thing from the life lessons learned in Bambi. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. I'm sure there were 1,000 things running through Trump's head at that moment. And he probably had some coaching beforehand. Okay, if you feel like you're going to say something bad, just walk away.
Just walk off the
walk
stage.
away. And Trump probably didn't like that at first because he likes to
mouth off
and contend with them.
Mm-hmm. He does.
But I'm sure he thought about it and he's like, no, that's probably better. Probably piss him off more than just retaliating.
And it did.
Oh, man.
It did.
But I think if he kind of continues on with that way of not letting the media take control of the conversation,
right,
he can have a better chance at the general election. That was a long answer.
It really was a long answer.
So, we were talking about the election, and I started thinking about voting stuffs, and it sent me down a fabulous rabbit hole of research.
I love it when he goes down rabbit holes.
They're great fun, and what got me thinking about this was, first off, the vote by mail thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to get more popular. Is the virus. So people are like, well, we can't gather to vote because someone's going to sneeze on me and I'm going to get sick. I've been to a lot of voting places and didn't really interact with anyone. So I don't know. But vote by mail. Good, bad, ugly. Your thoughts.
I haven't really researched it, honestly. if we're being 100% accurate, we live in Utah where there is vote by mail, and I'm not gonna lie, I voted by mail the last like 3 times that they sent me a thing for vote by mail
Right.
because I'm lazy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
know,
That's it.
that's it.
That's all.
That's all.
Okay. So, vote by mail for me. The lazy man in me, much like yourself, loves the idea. I don't have to drive to the polling location. Sweet.
I don't have to actually go anywhere
Sweet.
or talk to anyone or really do anything.
I don't have to awkwardly accept the I voted sticker from anyone.
I hate
And
those stickers.
And then try to hide tossing it aside because I hate having a little sticker. So, the lazy man in me thinks that's awesome.
For me, voting's like praying. I should do it quietly without people knowing that I did it.
But then I think of the implications, the negative repercussions of voting by mail. How many times has the government sent checks to wrong houses, sent checks to people that are dead, sent voting ballots to people that are dead?
Well, and there was that story, what was it, a couple weeks ago that came out where
The
they
relief
had,
checks? Oh, not
was
that.
it? Was it? No, I was thinking. Yeah, I'm trying to remember now. Actually, it might be the relief checks. But there was they found like boxes of unopened. I thought it was like mail-in votes.
Yeah, a different story. Yeah.
That had not been opened or counted or anything in one of the elections in the last couple of years in one of the states.
Right. I
Like-
remember seeing something about that. That'd be fun to pull up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but there's all these things where the mailing stuff to people just didn't work, especially on the government level. And so I was thinking, there's got to be some sort of compromise there. Because one thing I do like about vote by mail is you get the ballot early, and you can see who's actually on the ballot. And if you're a good, upstanding citizen, you'll research those people before you check the box next to their name. Most people, if they don't know anything about them, they go by name recognition. or they just don't vote at all. So I thought there's got to be a balance where you can send out something, but you still have to physically drop it off or physically go vote somewhere. So you could send out, you can have a thing where you can request a mail-in ballot, which I think would be good because there are the people that won't, either they're in the military or they're on vacation or whatever during the actual election day. And so you can request a mail-in ballot so you can get that ballot early, fill it out, do your duty, and be somewhere else. But for most people, you're home on that first Tuesday in November. First Tuesday? Second Tuesday? First Tuesday. Early Tuesday in November. It's usually the first one.
One of the Tuesdays
I'm pretty sure it's
of
usually the
November,
first Tuesday.
usually towards the beginning of the month.
But then you start thinking about much like the checks and stuff that are sent to the wrong people, wrong addresses, whatever. It's like how many ballots are going to be sent to people that are no longer living, or houses that don't exist, or people that just never existed, or how many ballots are never going to make it to their intended destination at all. And then how will those ballots be manipulated? Well, there's no election fraud. There is election fraud. There's cases all across the country from local level up to presidential level. There's cases, mild as they may be. There's cases, but it just, I think it was Ted Cruz. I think that or Crenshaw,
Said.
who pointed out that vote by mail. When you do vote by mail, you put your ballot in the mailbox. You no longer have ownership of your vote. You're passing that ownership to someone else to make sure that vote gets to where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a valid point. And so if you had the mail-in ballot, you could still do like Dropbox, and most places do that still, where they have a Dropbox at the ballot locations, where you can fill out your vote by mail, then drop it in a Dropbox. And I think that'd be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just a nationwide vote by mail, send it back in through the mail, probably not a good idea.
Right. I found one of the articles that I was looking for about that.
Mm-hmm. The boxes of ballots.
The boxes of ballots. So it was actually tens of thousands of votes not counted in the last presidential election.
Oh.
And it's not even because they didn't receive them or anything like that. So it looks like
Where are you finding this?
NBCBayArea.com.
So a local affiliate of NBC.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Local affiliate of NBC. NBC Bay Area obtained voting data from 13 counties for the 2018 gubernatorial election. Did I pronounce that right?
Gubernatorial.
Gubernatorial? Yeah, that's it's an R, not an N. Gubernatorial election. Those records show at least 160,000 ballots were rejected for various reasons, ranging from arrived too late to voting in the wrong county. And
So at least two ballots weren't counted.
right. NBC Bay Area, no, all 160,000 of them were rejected for various reasons.
So at least two.
Yeah, for sure. NBC Bay Area learned that one of the most common reasons why election officials challenged a ballot was due to a questionable signature.
Mm.
As part of the vetting process, county workers must compare a voter's signature on the back of their vote-by-mail ballot with the signature on the voter's registration form. Now, I don't know about you, but I think the last time I signed a voter registration form, I was in, like, high school.
Probably the same for me. And my signature has changed
So I
at least
think
twice since then.
At least twice. At least twice since
You realize
then.
how long your name is when you have to sign it multiple times.
Right. So apparently, like they created a program, a computer program that's supposed to help eliminate some of the false fraud things here, but even it isn't catching all of it. So it's reduced it a lot, but they still had 160,000 uncounted ballots
So go ahead and vote
in
by
the
mail.
last. So go ahead and vote by mail. Please do, especially in California. Well, parts of California. That's neither here nor there.
Neither here
Let's
nor
not
there.
go into that.
Oh, you.
But yeah, no, I see where you're coming from with that. There's obviously, from that story, there's a lot of different things that can happen that will get your vote either not counted, your vote gets lost, whatever,
Right.
Definitely something to think about.
You got to weigh all the options before you decide. That is wonderful.
Mhm.
Also, your mouse is terrible.
Well, it was cheap, so
It shows in both construction and ability to stay on.
hey, you know what? I'm not the talent. I'm the money, so shush.
Well, you could have bought something better.
I said I'm the money, not lots of money.
Turn on. No. All right, fine.
Is it broken? Broken?
I don't know.
Here, let me see it.
You fiddle-faddle with it. I'm moving on to... So, all of that made me start
Works
thinking...
fine for me.
Whatever. wiggle that all you want. You're on the wrong side of the screen. Maybe if you jiggle it a little, it'll open up.
That's not what you're. That's not what you meant.
Gimme.
It's
Gimme. Gimme. Gimme.
fine.
I'm trying to show you stuff you
He's
haven't
trying
seen.
to show me stuff I haven't seen. Okay. I'm
So-
ready and waiting patiently.
So this started me on a rabbit hole, along with the whole "not my president" thing.
Oh,
of
yes.
Donald Trump, because he lost the popular vote. So that made me.
Thank heavens we live in a republic, not a democracy.
Thank heavens, and you're about to kind of see why. Open this up.
Does
So,
it have anything to do with the founding fathers and their...
this is just
brilliant
this is just
forethought, or-
raw numbers.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is a work in progress. I hope to have it all done by November, and we'll cover it again.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't seen anything like this on the interwebs, and if you have
What?
anyone in the audience, please show me. So, the first column here, the presidential election year, I picked the last 10 elections. These are highlighted in red because I couldn't find the rest of the data for them, at least when I started this. I hope to eventually. But 2000 is the first time I've got all the data to go across. So in the 2000 election year, we had Bush and Gore.
2000?
No, Kerry.
Kerry. Yeah.
Bush and Kerry were the main two. There were others, I think 3 or 4 others that nobody heard about because they weren't popular enough. So the U.S. population above 18 years and older, so the voting eligible population at the time was 209,786,222 people. The number of registered voters, this is rounded. That's the most accurate thing I could find was rounded numbers. The registered voters was 129.55 million people. So that was 61.75% of the population. The number of votes cast in that for the presidential candidates, all of the candidates running for president, was 105,172,180 votes. So 81.18% of the registered voters voted. And then the winner, George W. Bush, he got 50,456,002 votes. And so he won 47.97% of the votes cast, which was 81% of the registered voters, which was 61% of the voting population.
Right.
Which means that George Bush had 24.05% of the population vote for him, and he became president of the United States. So if you're going by the whole "not my president" popular vote, George Bush didn't even have a quarter of the population vote for him, and he was president. This is population 18 and up, so the voting eligible population. And this trend, with unverified numbers, this trend continues back and back and back and back.
Nobody in that has more than a third.
Yeah.
Like, nobody even has a third. They all
Nobody
have
even-
less than a third
Nobody of
of
these,
the population.
what I got, five of
Yeah.
them here? None of these 5 have more than a third.
That's Obama twice. His second time he had, like, wow.
Yeah.
3% drop.
Yep.
Less people voted for him the second time than voted for Bush the second time.
That's true. I didn't even notice that.
Huh. That's interesting.
And what's also interesting is, so the number of votes cast also dropped there,
Yeah.
but the registered voters went higher. So yeah. So the most recent election of Clinton and Trump, you had 249.4-ish million people that were 18 and older, and 157.6 million registered voters, so 63% of the population, and 135.72 total million votes cast, which was 86% of the registered voters, which was one of the higher turnouts of the 5, I'll point out. The only one was Obama's first election was 89%. And Donald Trump had 62.984 million votes cast for him, which was 46.41% of the votes, and he had 25.25% of the population vote for him as a whole, which was more than George W. Bush, who won the popular and the Electoral College. So he was technically more our president than George Bush
Well,
as far as popular vote.
George Bush's second term, though, is actually kind of interesting. If you look at it, it has the highest percent of the population that was registered to vote out of the 5.
That's true. So yeah, this is something. The more I did it, the more I was fascinated by it, and the more I was, and I got even more fascinated. It didn't save California. I might have it on my phone. I'll have to edit later. But so then, since I couldn't really find this data easily, I started moving to the states.
Mm-hmm.
California should be on here, and if I have it on my phone, please be there. Yep, it's there.
Oh, hey, there. It's up there now.
Cool. That's pretty snazzy. Ain't technology something?
Yeah, it is.
All right, so in Utah, this is for the governor race.
Okay.
The most recent governor race. So Governor Herbert is Utah's governor. And
Yay.
the eligible voters that were 18 and older is 2,122,339 people.
Exactly 2/3 of our total population. There's just barely over 3 million people in Utah.
Oh, nice. So of that, why does this not look right? Oh, it changed things because it loaded from my phone.
Why you gotta be breaking stuff?
Yep. Anyway, I don't know if I can trust these. This was the total registered voters. Yeah, the total registered voters was 1.576 million, which was just shy of 3/4 of the population was registered to vote,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually pretty dang good. That's above the national average, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of votes cast was 1.125 million, which was 71% of the registered voters, and that's actually below the national average, which I thought was really interesting with that. And Governor Herbert won with 750,000 votes, just shy of 751,000, which was 2/3 of the votes cast, which was above the national average. But also
For president, anyway. Yeah.
yeah, but also governor races usually have a lot less candidates running, so there's less ways for the votes to split.
They have less than 2 people running?
What did I say? You're making me question what I said. What did I say?
You said governor races have less people running than the presidential races do.
Yeah, they do. The presidential races, there's more than 2, believe it or not.
Yeah, I know. I was
For
just
those listening and watching at home,
being a smart
there
aleck.
I hate you.
Fine, 3 people.
But anyways,
count the libertarians.
35.38% of the voting eligible population voted for Governor Herbert, and he won, which is above the national average.
Mm-hmm.
Now we go to California. And I also started thinking about this because of the virus stuff going on, of how different states are handling things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically governors giving edicts and orders of how to handle stuff. And so you can easily say, not my governor, and do all your whatevers with the not my movement, because it's pretty easy to say, I didn't vote for him, he's not my governor. He's only got 1/3 of the votes.
Mm-hmm.
But then California,
He's not really a governor unless he gets 2/3 of the votes. I'm being facetious. Don't worry about it.
But he did.
No, he got third.
He got 2/3 of the votes.
Oh no, I meant for the population.
He got
of the
1/3 of the
population. He got
population.
1/3 of the population.
2/3 of the
Two-
votes,
two-
1/3 of the population. I threw it
2/3
back
of
in
the
your face.
yeah.
So California has a couple more people than Utah.
Just a couple.
A couple more. They got 30.5 million people.
Couple of 30.
A couple of 30.
Million.
And in the governor race, Newsom and I don't know the other guy. Neither did most of California, apparently.
Yeah, well, that's probably why.
About
Newsom won.
2/3 of California didn't know the other guy. But yeah, just shy of 20 million votes cast, and it continues on. 64% of the population was registered to vote. 63% of the registered voters
voted.
and 61% actually voted for Newsom. But that left him with only a fourth of the voting population of California actually voted for Gavin Newsom. So he's actually got just barely.
It's interesting. It's almost as if you registered to vote and went out and voted, you might be able to make a difference.
Might.
Maybe.
You might. And that's kind of what I want.
If enough of you did it.
That's kind of what I wanted to explore with this, because there's a news. You can Google these and you'll find them. But there's a guy running for city council in Indiana, I think it was. He lost by 1 vote.
And if he'd have voted for himself, he would have won?
If he had remembered to go out and vote for himself, he would have won. Because nobody else voted.
I won with 100% of the vote.
That's basically how he could have won. He could have had a clean sweep of the votes.
Well, who actually won? Because they won with 0%.
It was,
Of-
I think the incumbent stayed there. Cause
They won because the other guy got 0% of the votes.
since
that's
there was
what
no
happened.
votes cast, it was just, I think they
Mhm.
defaulted to whoever was there got to
Oh,
stay
that
there.
makes sense.
Makes sense
Why
to
not
me.
run it that way?
I mean, if the guy doesn't have the initiative to vote for himself, why should he be on the city council?
Right. I mean, I always thought it was dirty to go vote for yourself, but whatever.
Vote's a vote.
I mean, I'm surprised
There's no
his
names
wife
attached to it.
or, his daughter or son or mother or brother or best friend
Anyone.
or literally anyone he knew didn't go vote for him, but that's not my
And one thing
not my circus, not my monkey.
One thing I stumbled across with this too that was interesting is I like to listen to Rabbi Daniel Lappin.
Oh yes, everybody needs a rabbi.
Everybody needs a rabbi.
Everybody
and
needs a rabbi.
I call him my rabbi because I don't really listen to any other rabbis that I know of. But
Is that like everybody needs a father, like Father Joe Tobin
in Newark,
in Newark? Yeah, specifically the one in Newark.
in Newark, yeah,
yeah.
he's the constitutional
Yeah.
authority
He's constitutional
out
authority.
of Newark.
Mm-hmm.
But Rabbi
Cardinal.
Daniel
It was
Lappin,
Cardinal.
Cardinal Joe
Cardinal Joe Tobin, not
Tobin.
father.
Because in the Hebrew language, there's
Mhm.
words, there's English words that do not translate to Hebrew, and one of those words is rights. Rights does not translate into a Hebrew word. Responsibility, however, does. And so if you replace the Bill of Rights with a Bill of Responsibility, that kind of puts an interesting thing on it.
Changes everything.
So if you have a right to vote, you have a responsibility to vote.
If you have the right to bear arms, you have the responsibility to bear arms.
If you have the right to free speech, you
You have the responsibility to speak freely. Hey, man. We're good on all counts right now.
I told you you'd like this little segment.
I like this. I like this a lot.
So yeah, Mike didn't see these numbers before.
Nope, this is the first time I'm seeing or hearing any of this.
I wanted
He
to
totally
see
totally
reaction.
did this himself and has brought it to me to
Yeah.
watch my eyes light up like a giddy little child on Christmas Day.
Hopefully, come November, I'll have this all kind of finished and do.
I'm actually super excited about this. This is
Yeah.
going to be awesome.
I want to get each state, the last governor of each state,
Mhm.
and then some of the more important cities and things like that, just to see
So-
how the mayors broke down.
Mm-hmm. So what is this? You said this tied to mail-in voting.
Yeah.
So how do your numbers tie into mail-in voting here?
So kind of like you pointed out with the 160,000
Missing votes.
missing. It's
Missing.
how often does a letter go missing in the mail? Does your package go missing? Anything like that. How often do people just pilfer through mailboxes and take stuff out? There's a story about that out of California, I believe, last week or so. So with things like that, where you're not taking ownership of your vote by just passing it off to the mailbox, or even leaving it in your mailbox for a couple days because you're used to not checking for mail because everything's online or Amazon. Guilty over there. But
I don't know what
that
you're
vote
talking
could be
about.
sitting in the mailbox, even if it's while you're at work. That ballot could be sitting in the mailbox, and someone with nefarious intent, knowing ballots should be arriving in the mailbox, could easily just go by, grab all these ballots, know that the system isn't accurate for checking all these signatures, and just start putting in whatever they want on the ballots, ship them off. They'll either not be counted because it's wrong, or they'll be counted for the person they were trying to get it for. That doesn't sound like a good plan to me.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And so you stack all that into this where nobody's voting. Right?
Well,
Nobody-
and you know, I mean, not to get conspiracy theory on you, but and how many of those votes were, illegals or
Yeah.
dead people?
Yeah, that's-
or
This is just the
because
raw data
there was
of
there
what
was
I
a thing that
have.
came
It's-
out. What was it, last month or whatever, that was talking about how many people with like certificates of death are still registered to vote,
Yeah.
and it's a ridiculous number.
Yeah.
It's so huge, like, so
Yeah, so this
that number of
this number right here.
registered voters is fluctuating, obviously, but there's people counted in that are dead.
Right.
So
And then on top of that, the census goes out every 10 years for stuff. And it is never
just filled one of those out.
It is never 100% accurate, the census. Because the census is there to get an idea of the population, an estimate of the population. Other than that, there's no way to actually tell how many people actually live in the United States. Unless
Awesome
you-
side note on the census.
Yeah.
First time I filled out a census that I didn't feel like I was getting frisked at the TSA.
that is nice. That change that
It's-
they've done. Yes.
Yeah, seriously, I have no idea what half the questions were last time I filled out that, but like, what do you need to know what I ate for lunch?
I don't know. But yeah, so taking that into account, all your registered voter numbers change.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely it drops because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then your votes cast could be off because you have people grabbing those dead votes and
Fraud.
throwing them in. You got people fabricating votes and throwing them in. Yeah. If you want to go the short answer,
Fraud.
we need a fraud frog.
Fraud. Wiser.
Yeah, but taking all that into account, all these numbers change because of that. Just that changes everything on these numbers. Now you throw in, we're just mailing these out all willy-nilly, hoping that it's done right, which always works well with the government in charge of something like that.
Well, that's how government runs, is on a hope and a prayer, right?
Not a prayer anymore, just a hope.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Not allowed to pray in government.
Yeah.
My bad.
It all changes. It's a rabbit hole.
Just a little bit.
And
of
I
one.
hope to get to the end of the rabbit hole before November, and we'll go back over this.
It's May.
Everything. Yeah, I don't have a lot of time. All the free time I have from now to November is probably about a week to put into this.
You should be able to find these numbers in a week.
Yeah, in the course of May to November.
That's right. That's what I mean. That's what it sounds like. Plenty of time to me.
Yeah, so I'm more interested in
Yeah,
the
do that and the research that we need for the rest of these shows.
for the rest of these. Exactly.
Right?
I'm more interested though in the more local stuff
Mm-hmm.
to find out as much as I can about the local things, because in reality, this doesn't matter.
Yeah, pretty much.
This doesn't matter.
As proven by COVID-19 and the fact that the governors are the ones that are being tyrants right now.
Well, Donald Trump just gave a recommendation.
Donald Trump told you to take care of it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Literally what he did. He's like, okay, states, just
Do your thing.
do
We'll
your
help where we
thing.
can.
We'll help where we can. And he did.
Yep.
I mean, how much of his aid did New York end up using?
Still using? Still not using?
Used any of it. At all.
And as soon as they get the ship there, they send someone on there with coronavirus.
It's okay because they also sent people into old folks' homes with coronavirus. So
Yeah, there's that.
I still believe he did that on purpose.
But yeah, this is where it starts to matter. Is when you get to your state, county, city. Those levels are where it actually starts to matter on who you're voting for.
Mm-hmm.
And those levels, I'm willing to bet, in more cases than others, have a lower turnout in the total population actually voting for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what the news gives you. Is all these presidential things. Woo! The president's there to make sure the other countries play nice with us.
Behave.
That's essentially what the president's there. Make sure the other countries play nice with us.
Report
and
their
make sure-
numbers accurately.
and then make sure that the states play nice together. That's what the president is there for. So yeah, so it'll be fun. It'll be fun. We'll visit that again when it's all done.
I'm
It'll-
so glad that
and it'll
we
look
as a
pretty.
people have decided to let other people that we don't like go and represent us to other people that we don't like.
Yeah,
It's such a great way of handling everything.
the best way.
It's the best way.
Best way.
And you know it's the best way because literally everybody in the world does it.
Yeah.
Literally everyone in the
Yeah.
world does it that way.
Does it?
Yeah. Okay, I'm tired of politics. Let's do something fun.
All right. Do you want the Benjamin Button rats or the wine heist first?
Ooh, let's do the wine heist.
The
That one
wine
sounds fun.
heist.
I didn't get a chance to watch this
Wine
video earlier,
heist.
but it sounds hilarious.
This-
I want the wine heist. Give me the wine heist.
This is got to be the craziest highway story.
This is some
I-
Fast and the Furious crap right here.
If this is not in the next Fast and Furious movie,
Then they've done something wrong.
I'll be upset because this is.
I imagine this scene playing out with The Rock
so.
or Shaw, either one.
So we're done with you, Megan Kelly.
Go
Sorry.
away, Megan Kelly.
So this.
Oh, seriously, you did a great job.
So this is
But
out
it's
of
time for this now.
this is out of Sacramento.
Make it big. Make it big.
I
then
clicked
make it
it.
play.
I clicked it. There we
There
go.
you go.
This is out of Sacramento, and apparently a CHP officer was injured.
In a crash.
But
The video we're watching. We are watching
the
wine
video you're
heist.
about to watch is the story of a man who is most likely out of his mind, bat crap crazy, probably because of
Wait,
drugs.
did this happen in Florida?
California.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'll just let this play through, and then we'll talk about it.
And then
at
we'll
the
talk about. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So we can actually get
end.
something
So we
done.
can actually do
Now
it.
to a wine heist like you've never seen before, only wearing his underwear. Police say a man jumped on a tanker truck carrying bulk wine. And as it climbed up Highway 99, he climbed underneath, unscrewed a valve, and when the vino gushed out, he started guzzling.
CBS 13, Steve Large is along Highway 99 with the video you'll only see on CBS 13.
This suspect just uncorked what may be the wildest ride of any wine heist ever. The dashcam video from a tanker truck hauling bulk red wine on Highway 99 through Modesto first shows the suspect in a sedan putting his hazard lights on, directing the truck to the side of the highway. The truck driver pulls over, believing he may have a mechanical problem, only to see the man in the sedan get out, only wearing underwear. He runs to the passenger side of the truck and out of view. As the truck driver pulls back onto the freeway, another onboard camera captures that suspect jump back into view. Then, on the back of the wine truck, with no shirt and no shoes, he rides on the side of the tanker. The video then shows him climbing underneath the truck as it hits freeway speeds. That's when the driver noticed a dashboard gauge showing he was losing fluids, hundreds of gallons of red wine. He called the CHP.
I listen to radio. I've listened to thousands and thousands of calls. This one's up there in the top 10.
The truck driver found the suspect,
Can't imagine
Gabriel
why.
Moreno, now under arrest, in an unusual position. Moreno had unscrewed a valve underneath the truck as it was moving up Highway 99. That sent the tanker's wine gushing and Moreno gulping as much as he could.
This individual was able to release the wine from under the tanker, and he placed himself underneath the tanker in such a manner. The best way to describe this is somebody doing like snow angels.
This Highway 99 red wine heist, big and bold, with a finish in handcuffs.
This individual got exactly what they were looking for immediately.
By the way, the trucking company says they weighed their tanker after this was all over and found that they'd lost about 1,000 gallons of wine, most of it ending up on Highway 99. That's enough to fill about 5,000 red
of
wine
it.
bottles.
Now to a wine heist.
So, I don't know if you noticed. I'm gonna see if I can skip forward. This guy did it all right. He did it the right way, and I'll show you what I mean. So right here.
Okay, why did he pop his trunk?
I think his intent was to fill something up in his trunk from the truck.
And then he forgot what
And
it
then
was.
the truck
he was
started.
gonna fill
No, then the truck started pulling away,
it. Oh.
and then he
Is that what
panics
it
and just
was?
jumps on the truck. But if you'll notice, when he gets out of the car here, he's got the mask on, so he's safe. He's
He has socially distanced himself. He is ready.
no pun intended here. But how long had he been casing the highway?
I want to know how
find-
he knew
Right,
that
that's
that
what I mean.
tanker had wine in it.
I don't know.
Can you imagine
I mean-
if it didn't? Like, what if it was something else? Like,
I mean,
he
you
pops
know-
open a valve and gets a mouthful of like 10W30.
I mean, for the most part, you know when it's a dairy truck.
Yeah,
Because it has
that's true.
Dairy Farmers of America or whatever on it somewhere. And you know when it's a gas truck of sorts because it's got the flammable labels all over it.
Or the gas station,
Or the gas
labels.
company itself. So I imagine a wine truck. Would it have the flammable symbol on it? Does it
I don't know.
count?
From the picture, because it like shows the side of the truck at one point, and it looked like it said like CMT on it.
Right.
So
He must have known that's like a distributor.
he must have known that was a wine distributor. I didn't know that, but apparently he knew that.
Story.
So this,
This is a Florida man story straight out of California.
there's only one thing. The one bath salts. It's bath salts.
Maybe.
I mean,
But yeah, I saw this story. I was like, what is
hell,
this? It's like, wine heist? They
Wine
like
heist.
tip over a truck filled with wine and steal it? No.
Highway 99
he-
wine heist.
He
just rolls
unscrewed
off the tongue.
bottom of the tanker and just guzzled away as it's driving.
1,000 gallons of wine.
just spraying in his face.
What did the reporter? He said vino.
Yeah.
Red vino wine.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah, see, like, he's motioning, like, I'm going to grab something from my trunk, and then the truck's, like, backing away, like, no, you're not.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I would have backed away too.
Right.
Holy crap, man.
So, yeah, so, wine heist. That's the wine heist. Now for the rats.
The rats. So this one isn't a video. This is actual document. It's a PDF file. I actually stole it off one of my buddies that posted it earlier today.
You sent it here, right?
Yeah, I sent it to the email.
Has share PDF?
Mm-hmm.
I got it. Do. All right.
Do-do-do-doom.
Oh,
So
this is like the actual.
yeah, this is like the actual like study, like notes.
Keywords: rejuvenation, plasma fraction, epigenic clock, DNA methylation, rat.
Just that. That's
just
it.
that.
That's all we
you
wanted
need.
to
Well,
talk
that
about.
was
That
great.
was
That was a good story.
that was everything we wanted to cover right there.
So to be clear, this isn't the rats have given up lab testing to sell facial creams.
No. So the general idea of this is that essentially they've been doing studies using young blood plasma to confer beneficial effects on the various organs of mice and different things like that. So this study, which I'm looking for a date on it. You don't see one, do you?
A date?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine it's at the top. This version posted May 8th, 2020.
May 8th, 2020. Yeah, so a few days ago. But essentially they've been doing this testing, and their overall study has pretty much determined that they can de-age various organs and things like that slightly.
How?
That is a question I don't know the answer to.
You didn't read it.
I read it. But I don't understand it.
So, just going off this first part, young blood plasma is known to convert. So I'm guessing it's a plasma transfusion
Pretty much. That's what it looks like.
from young rats to old rats.
So if you look further down in the study, it says repeated injections of young plasma into older mice, an effective alternative to parabiosis, confirmed the prevailing notion that the beneficial effect is due to blood-borne factors. So, yeah, essentially it looks like they are doing kind of a plasma dialysis to essentially de-age the blood in the mice, which has been shown to mitigate or treat age-related conditions such as even Alzheimer's disease and things like that.
Cool, then.
Or could be of benefit anyway to mitigate or treat these things.
So you're saying we get all the grandkids, round them up, hook them up to Grandpa, and Grandpa won't forget things as much.
Pretty much.
What
That's what it's looking like.
Way.
The treatment more than halved the epigenetic age. So you're talking, they took these 18 rats. There's 6 young, 6 old, and 6 that are being treated. By the end of the study, the 6 rats that were 30 weeks old were the same. The 6 rats that were 109 weeks old and untreated were the same. But the 6 rats that were 109 weeks old but treated this way were as if their age were roughly, what would that be, 50?
Their aging was cut in half.
54? No, their aging wasn't cut in half. Their aging was rewound in half.
Right. That's what I mean. Like they're aging.
They're
is halved.
oh yeah, they're aging. Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. So essentially the 6 rats that were treated instead of having the same, blood levels, everything as the 6 old rats was instead as if they were half the age that they were.
So this isn't necessarily a treatment, or this isn't necessarily a cure for old age. It's more of a treatment to slow old age.
Pretty much, that's what it looks like.
So yeah, thanks for listening to Naked Apple and watching. If you watch the Naked Apple, I am Mike.
No, you're Trevor.
I did this last time.
I am.
I was
Mike.
seeing if you how you would react.
I'm Mike.
I am Trevor, and this is Naked Apple. Till next time. Bye.